Time to round up a big story from the week. Celebrities are joining the community-wide debate over the controversial Houston Equal Rights Ordinance. Former Astros slugger Lance Berkman has joined the anti-hero forces. He's released a television commercial and radio ad. In it, he talks about being worried that his 4 daughters will be put in harm's way if men are able to use women's restrooms.
My wife and I have 4 daughters. Proposition 1, the bathroom ordinance, would allow troubled men to enter women's public bathrooms, showers, and locker rooms. This would violate their privacy and put them in harm's way. That's just wrong.
It's a local tool that makes sure folks in our churches and all Houstonians, no matter their race, age, gender, sexual orientation, or military status, can earn a living, have a place to live, and be served by a business.
The pro-hero movement is airing this TV spot featuring a pair of local pastors and their wives. They argue the ordinance isn't about bathrooms, but offering protection for many groups of people. Will the proposed Houston Equal Rights Ordinance eliminate discrimination or actually create it? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page and on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom now is our Roundup panel. It's led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. Good morning again.
Good morning.
So what do the polls say about how this ordinance is doing and whether it'll pass or not?
Well, I think passage the polls are showing that this is going to fail. If the election were held today, it would not pass. But there hasn't been a significant ad campaign in favor of the ordinance yet. This commercial that's out now is, I think, the first one. And so it may be too little too late because the opposition has been so strong and so well funded. We'll see what happens moving up to the election. But you've got now, Jackie, an ad with pastors saying, wait a minute, this is a good deal.
Yeah, these are probably the only 2 pastors in Texas who are saying that. Most, and I say that facetiously, of course, most pastors and men of cloth have been fighting this because of their religious freedoms. And I think really what we saw when this ordinance was first introduced, it was about discrimination of black men in the Heights area. At least that's how it was first introduced, to stop discrimination because black men were being discriminated by clubs in the Heights area. It's transformed from that to subpoenaing, getting sermons, and now to bathrooms. And I think what's happened in that transformation is that people who are proponents of this ordinance I've heard people call these pastors bigots. I've heard them call them, Lance Berkman, since he came out, I've heard them call him an idiot because they are expressing their religious freedoms and their rights to speak against an ordinance if they want to. And I think because of that dangerous rhetoric of calling people names because they believe in certain things based on their religious upbringing and calling them bigots and labeling them as names, that's why you're seeing the big pushback that you're seeing. And polls are showing that this is going to fail 3-1 if held today.
And I think that number is correct of the polls today. But the opposition plays this as only a bathroom ordinance. Lance Berkman said this is a bathroom ordinance. Is that really what this is all about?
Well, it's not about that. And I think that there's one myth that I like to debunk. People say sometimes that there's federal protections already there for this. Why do we need a local ordinance? And we just recently saw that there were 3 gentlemen that weren't allowed to go into a club and they were discriminated against. Well, that means that in order for them to get their day in court, they would have to go into federal court, hire a lawyer at their own expense to try to fight to Christian, right? You're pricey too, but to go fight for their rights. Why should Houstonians have to go to federal court to get relief on a local issue? And this ordinance not only protects, every particular class, including our military men and women, and so that's why we should vote for it. And Jackie's right. There's been a lot of rhetoric back and forth, and it's been over the top, and it needs to stop. And we need to start looking at it, as Houstonians.
Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Was a lot of discussion on Twitter this week about the hero ordinance. We'll go to Richard first. He says, thank you, Lance. This family agrees. Speaking about Lance Berkman coming out against Proposition 1. This person says, no bathroom ordinance to allow men in women's bathrooms or vice versa, period, Houston. Lawsuits waiting to happen. Joan says, this is not a bathroom ordinance just because a sports icon says so. Educate yourself before voting. And Melissa says there's no mention of bathrooms in the ordinance. It's illegal, always has been illegal, and will be illegal to commit a crime in a restroom.
And I think she's right about that. You know, the simple fact of the matter is if someone goes into a man goes into a woman's bathroom to do something bad, they're going to be prosecuted for that. That's not what this ordinance is about, Jackie. It doesn't allow men to go in the bathroom to abuse people.
In major cities where you have equal rights ordinances, you don't even have the discussion about bathrooms that we do in this particular ordinance. So if we wanted to really specifically talk about just not discriminating people based on gender, race, color, the bathroom portion should be separate from that. That's what major cities have done. And so this discussion that we're having here, you haven't seen in other cities. Also, our ordinance is quite cumbersome. It's like 6 times longer, and so whenever we say go read it, it's written so poorly and it's so much longer than other comparable ordinances of cities that people get tired, and that's why you hear sound bites from both sides, and that's why people are basing their judgment and their decisions based on that. But if it wasn't about bathroom, then take the bathroom portion out of it.
Does the ordinance address bathrooms, and who started the discussion about bathrooms?
Yeah, that was taken out of the ordinance, and I think the opposition sometimes is misleading. They've got the old ordinance on there that was being discussed as a draft. Look, 200 cities have passed something like this, and so there's a discussion like, why aren't all the 200 cities, they're different, but this ordinance is no different than what it is in Dallas and what is it in Austin. Is it different than Fort Worth? Yes. But the reality is that we are the only big city that does not have a local protection. So when discrimination occurs here in Houston, you have to go to federal court. But if discrimination occurs in Dallas, you can go right to the Dallas City Council. So something has to be done, and it may not be perfect, but it is something that we have. And at this point, voting it down sends the wrong message about us to the business community across this country.
Jackie, the Greater Houston Partnership, which is no liberal organization, and other
It is led
like
by
that,
a liberal man.
Other people like that have said that failing this will lose convention business, which will hurt the city financially.
The Greater Houston Partnership, the leader, the president, Bill Harvey, or Harvey is his last name, he is liberal, and that's quite
But
known.
you agree the organization as a whole is not a liberal
You have
organization.
Democrats and Republicans actively involved, and I've heard from some of the members who've said that they felt that they were being pressured a certain way. So, you know, if we're going to talk about liberalism and the Greater Houston Partnership, the leader is liberal.
Get to the question, though. They say that failing this, if this ordinance fails, it will hurt the convention
I
business
have heard
in
the
city.
president say that, yes.
You don't
the liberal
agree?
president.
Do you agree?
I think if this fails, I think we will still get business. We're the 4th largest city in the country. I don't think businesses are going to run from Houston if this ordinance fails. We heard that when we talked about zoning as well.
Yeah.
And we've seen other cities lose business.
Consistently, right? I mean, this is like and the entire board voted on this in support of this. So it's unfair to say one person is driving it. The board voted. It's a board vote. The Convention Bureau has voted on this. So, you know, again, we have to start looking at this factually rather than trying to spin it.